Hello and welcome to Algebra 1 Practice Set 10. In this video we're going to look at some additional practice problems for our lesson on proportions. Alright, so let's take a look at the first problem. We have x minus 1 over x is equal to 6 over 3. So remember, to set up and solve a proportion equation, you take the denominator from the first, you could say ratio or fraction, however you want to think about this, and multiply it by the numerator of the second one. So denominator of the first times the numerator of the second one. So x times 6 is 6x. You're going to set this equal to the denominator of the second fraction times the numerator of the first fraction. Now in this case, I'm multiplying 3 by more than one term. So I've got to use parentheses because the 3 has to be multiplied by the x and the negative 1. So I'm going to put 3 times the quantity x minus 1. A very common mistake would just be to have 3x minus 1, like that. And again, you don't want to do that. You need parentheses around the x minus 1 so that the 3 gets distributed to each term. So once you set up your equation, it's pretty easy, right? From this point on, it's kind of the same as what we've been doing since we started solving linear equations in one variable. So we have 6x on the left. On the right, 3 times x is 3x. Then minus 3 times 1 is 3. And essentially, I just need to move this over here. So I'm going to subtract 3x away from both sides of the equation. This is gone. I'm going to have 6x minus 3x. That's 3x. And on the right, I'm going to have negative 3. Very easy to finish this up. I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 3, the coefficient of x. And I'm going to end up with x is equal to negative 3 over 3 is negative 1. All right, let's plug this back in for x and see if we got the right answer. All right, so I'm going to plug a negative 1 in for x there and there. So I'd have negative 1 minus 1 over negative 1 is equal to 6 over 3. Now, negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. So I'd have negative 2 over negative 1, which simplifies to just 2. Over here, you basically have 6 over 3, which means 6 divided by 3. That's also 2. So you'd end up with 2 equals 2. And we know our solution here, x equals negative 1, is correct. All right, let's take a look at another one now. So we have 4 over 11 is equal to v minus 11 over v. So again, I'm going to cross multiply and set up an equation. So I'm going to have this 11 here. I'm going to multiply by this quantity here, which is v minus 11. So 11 times the quantity v minus 11. Remember to use parentheses here. V minus 11. And I'm going to set this equal to, I have this v over here times this 4 over here. So v times 4 is just 4v. All right, so on the left side, I'm going to use my distributive property. 11 times v is 11v. Then minus 11 times 11, that's 121. This is equal to 4v. Now, in order to get the variable term on one side and just a number on the other, kind of the quick way to do it would just be to subtract 11v away from both sides of the equation. So this would cancel out, and on the left, I would have negative 121. This is going to be equal to 4v minus 11v would be negative 7v. Now, as a final step to get v by itself, I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by negative 7. So now this is going to cancel with this, and I'm just going to have v on the right side of the equation, and it's isolated. On the left side, negative 121 over negative 7, we really can't simplify that. All we can do is just say that it's positive. So we'll put positive 121 over 7. So we're going to go back up and check our result, which is v equals 121 over 7. All right, so we're going to plug this in for v here and here. So on the left, I just have 4/11. This is equal to, in the numerator, I'll have 121 over 7 minus, then for 11, I'm going to multiply it by 7 over 7. All right, so I can have a common denominator. So this would be 77 over 7. All right, 77 divided by 7 is 11. I just rewrote it. Then for the denominator here, I have v, which again, I'm going to plug in a 121 over 7. So 121 over 7. So on the left again, 4/11ths. On the right, 121 minus 77 is 44. So I'd have 44 over 7, and then this would be divided by 121 over 7. So basically, to divide these fractions, I would multiply this first one by the reciprocal of the second one. 7 would come up here. 121 would go down there. And I can just erase this from here. And I know that the 7s would cancel completely, so that's gone. And then 44 and 121 are both divisible by 11. So 44 divided by 11 is 4. 121 divided by 11 is 11. And you'd end up with 4 over 11, which is exactly what you have here. And so our solution, which was v equals 121 over 7, is correct. All right, let's take a look at another one. We have x minus 11 over 9 is equal to x minus 1 over 5. So I'm going to start out by taking this denominator here and multiply it by this numerator over here. Again, remember, if you're multiplying by more than one term, you need to make sure that you're using parentheses. I want 9 to be multiplied by both x and negative 1. So I'm going to say 9 times the quantity x minus 1, and then is equal to, again, the same thing over here, 5 times this quantity here, this quantity x minus 11. So 5 times the quantity x minus 11. Very important that you use parentheses, otherwise you will not get the correct answer. So use my distributive property to start. 9 times x is 9x. Then minus 9 times 1 is 9. And this equals 5 times x, that's 5x. And then minus 5 times 11 is 55. All right, so I'm going to add 9 to both sides of the equation. That's going to get rid of the number part from over here. And I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides of the equation. That's going to get rid of the variable term from this side. So over here, I'll just have a variable term. Over here, I'll just have a number. This is exactly what I want. So 9x minus 5x is 4x. Over here, negative 55 plus 9 is negative 46. Okay, now I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by the coefficient of x, which is 4. And so this is going to cancel with this. So I'm just going to have an x. And this equals negative 46 divided by 4. That's not going to give me a whole number, so I'm just going to reduce the fraction. So I know it's going to be negative. And then if I divide 46 by 2, I'd get 23. So negative 23 over 4 divided by 2 is 2. So negative 23 halves is our solution. All right, let's check our solution now. And I'm going to plug a negative 23 halves in everywhere I see an x. So that's going to be here and here. So I'm going to start out with negative 23 halves minus 11. I'm going to make this easy on myself and just write this 11 as 22 over 2. Right, so I have a common denominator. Then this is over 9. And we're saying this is equal to, up here we have x, so we're going to say negative 23 halves minus 1. I'm just going to write 2 over 2. Right, again, so I have a common denominator. Then this is over 5. So negative 23 minus 22 would be negative 45. So you'd have negative 45, and then over 2, and then that's over 9. And then for the purposes of us working with fractions, I'm going to write this as 9 over 1. Now this is equal to, over here I had negative 23 over 2 minus 2 over 2. So that would be negative 25 over 2. And then this is over 5. And I'm again going to write this as 5 over 1. So now I'm going to take this fraction here, negative 45 halves. I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal of this fraction here. The reciprocal of 9 over 1 is 1/9. So we can see what's going to cancel. This would cancel with this and give me a 5. So I can kind of erase this now and just say I have negative 5 halves. This is equal to, over here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have negative 25 halves times the reciprocal of this guy. The reciprocal of 5 over 1 is 1/5. And so we're going to see that this is going to cancel with this and give me a 5. So then I can erase this and just say I have negative 5 halves equals negative 5 halves. And so we could say our solution, which is x equals negative 23 halves, is correct. All right, let's take a look at another one. So we have 10/12 is equal to v minus 9 over v plus 11. So again, I'm going to take this denominator, multiply it by this numerator, And this numerator here is a quantity. So 12 times the quantity v minus 9. Again, make sure you use parentheses around v minus 9. I need 12 to multiply v and also negative 9. This is equal to this denominator, v plus 11, times this numerator, which is 10. Again, make sure you use parentheses. So 10 times v plus 11, right? This quantity. All right, so use our distributive property. 12 times v is 12v. Minus 12 times 9, that's 108. Then this equals 10 times v is 10v. Then plus 10 times 11 is 110. So to get all the variable terms on the left, I'm going to subtract 10v away from both sides. So that's going to go away. And then to get all the numbers on the right, I will add 108 to both sides of the equation. That's gone. And so on the left, 12v minus 10v is 2v. On the right, 110 plus 108. And now we just want to solve for v. So I divide both sides of the equation by 2, the coefficient of v, and I'll have v is equal to 109. Right? 218 divided by 2 is 109. All right, so let's check our solution. We're going to plug 109 in for v here and here. So I'd have 10 over 12 is equal to 109 minus 9 over 109 plus 11. So the first thing is that 10 over 12, I could really reduce that if I wanted to. Each is divisible by 2. I could write this as 5, right? 10 divided by 2 is 5, over 12 divided by 2 is 6. Over here, 109 minus 9 is 100. And then 109 plus 11 is 120. So each here is going to be divisible by 20. If I divide 100 by 20, I'd get 5. If I divide 120 by 20, I get 6. So you can see once you simplify each one, you get 5, 6 equals 5, 6. And so v equals 109 is the correct solution. All right, let's take a look at a typical word problem that you might see. If 5 suits are sold for $10.60, how much would 12 suits cost? So the way you're going to set this up, remember when you're thinking about a unit rate. So if I'm talking about, I have 5 suits that are sold for $10.60, how do I figure out the cost per suit? So I'd put the dollar amount for all the suits up top. So $10.60 is going to go on my numerator, and this is over 5 suits in the denominator. Now, I could go through and simplify this and get a unit rate, and I could find out what the cost per one suit is, and then I could just multiply that by 12, right, and I can get an answer. Or what I could do is I could set this equal to the unknown amount, which I could just use a variable for, let's just say x, over 12 suits. 12 suits. Right, I'm setting up a proportion. I'm saying that $10.60 for 5 suits will be equal to or the same as some unknown, which we're going to solve for 12 suits. Now, net in the end, this variable x is going to give me a value that when divided by 12 gives me the same unit price or the same price per one suit as over here, right? And I'll show you that. I'll do it both ways. So I'm going to multiply this times this. And when you work with a rate, remember you have all these different units that are going on. You just need to worry about the number part. So I'm just going to multiply 5 times x. I don't need to write suits in there. I'm just going to write 5 times x or 5x. And I'm going to set this equal to, we have 12 suits, and I'm multiplying this by $10.60. Again, don't worry about the units. So I'm just going to multiply 12 times 10.6. You can put 10.60 or just 10.6. It's the same value. All right, so let's figure out what this is. So we have 5x is equal to 12 times 10.6 is 127.2. Now, if I divide both sides of the equation by 5, I'll have x is equal to 25.44. So remember, x was the cost for 12 suits. Right? X was the cost for 12 suits. So let me erase everything. We're just going to write up here, it would cost $25.44. $2.44 for 12 suits. Now, let me kind of prove this to you. I could plug 25.44 in there and we could go through and prove that one side equals the other, but I want to show you that it's the same unit rate in each case. So over here we have $10.60 for 5 suits. So if I divide 10.60 by 5, I'm going to get 2.12. So really, the cost per suit, it's $2.12 per one suit. Right? This is the unit rate. So you're taking your total dollar amount, the total amount you spent, and you're dividing it by the total quantity that you received to get the amount you spent per each unit. So we end up with $2.12 per one suit. If I took this amount, one suit is $2.12, and I multiplied it by 12, I would in fact get 25.44, or I would get a cost of $25.44 for 12 suits. So kind of two different ways to solve this problem. The first method and kind of the faster method would be to set up a proportion, just like we did here. And basically we're just saying that these two unit rates will end up being the same. You have $10.60 for 5 suits, and we're setting that equal to an unknown amount for 12 suits, right? When you cross multiply and set up the equation, you solve for the unknown, you get the correct answer of $25.44 for 12 suits. The other way would be to calculate the unit rate right off the bat, right? So you take the known information, get a unit rate, which is $2.12 per one suit, and then you could multiply $2.12 times 12, that's the number of suits you're looking for the cost for, and you'd find out also that it's $25.44 for 12 suits.